Homage to Shakyamuni Buddha. Homage to Manjushri wisdom, courage. Salute root masters. The profound Dharma, rare in 100,000 eons, now I see, hear, and receive it. May I understand the true meaning of the Tathagata. To liberate all sentient beings, develop unsurpassed and supreme bodhicitta. Next, we will continue our study of the preliminary practices of Dzogchen in greater detail. Within the preliminary practices of Dzogchen, we will first study the 4 common preliminaries. Among the 4 common preliminaries, the guidance text regarding the difficulty of obtaining a human body has already been introduced earlier in this discussion. Of course, I've already explained it to everyone from the perspective of the text. As for how well everyone is actually practicing it, well, ultimately, in reality, that depends on yourselves. Now, the second section of our discussion turns to the impermanence of life, highlighting how nothing in life lasts forever and everything is always subject to change. First, the author thoughtfully presents a short introductory verse of homage here, with reverence and respect. Before each guidance text, he takes a moment to reflect on and draw inspiration from the realizations and admirable qualities he has learned from his own teacher, thoughtfully incorporating these insights into the guidance he is about to share, and offers a most deeply reverent verse of praise and homage to the greatly revered root guru with utmost devotion, clearly seeing the impermanent and illusory nature of the 3 realms, abandoning the trivial matters of this life as one would spit out saliva, practicing asceticism and following in the footsteps of the predecessors at the feet of the peerless guru. I pay homage. This is from the author Patrul Rinpoche, offering heartfelt homage before his root guru, Jigme Gyalwe Nyugu. At the same time, we too should often pray to our guru during our practice. When we sincerely pray to the guru with a pure heart, we should do so to every teacher in the lineage. If you would like, take a moment in your mind to please visualize and use this verse as a prayer. In the past, it has often been observed that many practitioners of Tibetan Buddhism use these verses to praise and pray to their gurus. So when we practice in our daily lives, for example, if today you are practicing impermanence, you first do guru yoga before meditating on impermanence. With respect, you bring your palms together in front of your chest and bow your head, offering a sincere prayer to your root guru, expressing your devotion. Rely on the divine blessings of the guru so that the concept of impermanence can truly arise in my mind stream in a deep and meaningful way. You must pray sincerely and pay homage with very deep and sincere faith, truly from your heart. This is absolutely and extremely necessary. Here it is indeed said, what kind of being is his root guru, Venerable Tathagata Sprout? In fact, with his wisdom, he has directly realized all of the form realm, the formless realm, and the desire realm, and sees the entire 3 realms of cyclic existence as impermanent illusions. Emptiness, selflessness, impermanence. In their true nature, there is not even the slightest trace bit, or even the slightest hint, in any way whatsoever, of inherent existence or truly existent phenomena. With his wisdom, he completely perceives that all phenomena are impermanent and illusory in nature. Because he has attained such a realization when it comes to all the minor and seemingly insignificant matters of this world, in his view, all kinds of worldly glory, wealth, and status, he has completely and utterly abandoned them all. In the process of practice, he casts them aside just as one spits out saliva completely discarded. He does not cling to them, nor does he seek them. In the biography of Venerable Rulaya, it is mentioned that regarding all the worldly, beautiful celestial beings and wealthy dragon kings, and manifestations of glory and riches that might appear before his eyes, in reality, not even for a single instant does he truly feel any envy or desire whatsoever for them. Indeed, some time ago I read the biography of Venerable Rulaya, truly fascinating, because essentially from childhood until his parinirvana, he genuinely had truly unwavering faith in the Dharma, aspired to the true teachings, and renounced the 8 worldly concerns. For ordinary people like us, this is hard to even imagine. Such a great, accomplished master practiced asceticism to such an extent, and was so deeply devoted to his spiritual guru, wholeheartedly and unwaveringly, throughout every moment of his entire life. His guru completely renounced all worldly affairs, in every possible way, without exception. For studying and practicing the Dharma, he followed in the footsteps of great masters of the past, always engaging in ascetic practice. In the biographies of many gurus, we can all see this clearly, that indeed to practice the Dharma requires asceticism Many people today want deep Dharma insight while living comfortably. I am truly very happy, and I sincerely wish to attain and experience many realms of the righteous Dharma. Of course, when all the right conditions are present, this is not impossible, it can happen. But there are very few people who seem to think they don't even need to spend any money, no need to spend time, no need to put effort, no need to do anything. And even when the Dharma is delivered right to their doorstep, they are still unwilling to accept it. There are indeed such behaviors as well, certainly. So if we truly read the biographies of these great masters and eminent monks, we see how diligent and sincere they were in their pursuit of learning. In this regard, we too may have no choice but to be diligent, because sometimes we really do find ourselves thinking about these masters of the past, considering the remarkable things they accomplished and the influence they still have on us today, in their yearning for Dharma, seeing, as well as their realization of the ultimate emptiness of all phenomena and the truth of worldly impermanence. They were, quite honestly, truly exceptional. If we claim to be disciples of these masters ourselves, in our own understanding, we should feel extremely ashamed, as our actions are very difficult to justify. When we look back and try to explain what we have done, it becomes clear that there is hardly any reasonable excuse for our behavior. This realization should, therefore, we should reflect on the fact that it is important to note that the lineage masters truly possess such qualities. I often think that the wish-fulfilling jewel of a master can indeed be measured against this verse. Using wisdom, he sees all three realms. And in terms of impermanence, they truly possess this quality as well. They see worldly matters like mere spit. Toward all the things in this life that are considered special or are objects of others' envy, they have not the slightest attachment or greed. Moreover, their entire lives were dedicated to spiritual practice and to enduring hardships for the sake of the Dharma. Their diligence truly and completely, unwaveringly followed in the footsteps of the legendary, renowned great masters of the past. So, our dedicated, inspiring teachers are, without a doubt, truly unparalleled among all people, whether in terms of their blessings, wisdom, or realization. Every perspective to encounter such a teacher in this very life is truly an honor and extremely rare. Therefore, we should not just say with our mouths, "Hello, teacher, I have great faith in you," but truly from the depths of our hearts, before such a revered and extraordinary root teacher, who truly and genuinely possesses the most supreme and exceptional qualities of wisdom, compassion, and skill, we should prostrate with body, speech, and mind. At the same time, we should sincerely and respectfully offer our heartfelt prayers with deep reverence and genuine compassion, that all the realizations of the precious human rebirth, the understanding of impermanence, and so on, all the main and preliminary practices and their corresponding states, may swiftly on this very cushion be truly and completely integrated, deeply, thoroughly, and fully into my own mind stream. May I follow in the footsteps of the great masters and beings of the past, and may I myself attain the state of my most kind root teacher. We should make such aspirations. This is how we should aspire. This is the verse of prostration. So when we practice, as I have repeatedly and clearly mentioned many times, the importance of prayer and aspiration, I truly hope we never, ever lose sight of this. Recently, everyone has also been studying the preliminary practice memorandum together. Some of the metaphors in the text of the preliminary practice memorandum may be a bit difficult to understand, but the meaning, the deeper significance that it is able to thoughtfully convey, the message or idea it communicates, is quite entirely the expression of an enlightened being's truly profound and deeply compassionate wisdom. It far surpasses the writings of many seekers in the world who compose articles using various methods. Therefore, when everyone observes with sincere faith and pure wisdom, one should be able to attain the realization within their continuum. Because there is a tremendous difference depending on the author. For example, when a teacher gives teaching, if this teacher has great compassion or a deep realization of impermanence, then every disciple will definitely gain certain significant benefits and valuable harvests. They will gradually attain different and distinct levels of realization, each in their own unique way. The same principle applies when we read a book, whether the author has realized the true nature of all phenomena or not, in the ultimate and most profound sense, is also relevant in this regard. Therefore, as we engage in the preliminary practices this time, let us do so together with care. Everyone is required to study the preliminary practice memorandum together. In this way, we also truly believe that for many people, their mental continuums will gradually change over time, especially when compared to how things were in the past. It should become more perfect, more complete, and more fulfilling from a worldly perspective. One should gradually, with patience and careful effort, work to transform their very stubborn and unyielding character over time so that it becomes gentler and more flexible over time. At the same time, one's faith in the Dharma and in virtuous actions should, with each passing day, continue to steadily keep increasing and always remain unwavering. There should be less attachment and clinging to all kinds of worldly possessions, things, and phenomena in our lives. Even if conflicts or disagreements do arise between people from time to time, you can quite easily and calmly resolve these kinds of matters within your own heart and thoughtfully see through them, gaining a deeper understanding and clarity. So I think whether or not your practice is truly integrated into your mind really depends on yourself. If we do not internalize these states into our inner world, then our superficial study is just like attending university or graduate school in the secular world. They also have some surface level courses and studies, but this is merely seeking the beauty of words every day. As for cultivating gentleness within, neither authors nor teachers considered, and students in particular have even less opportunity, significantly so. Therefore, the approach we are taking this time is entirely guided by actual practice. I can also say that this time, in explaining the preliminary practices of Dzogchen to everyone, it should definitely be considered to be quite extensive. In fact, it is regarded as rather comprehensive overall. Because I lack realization, I can't go deeper. In fact, there are still many, many profound treasures within it. However, my own tools are quite limited, so I am doing my very best to unearth them as much as possible, according to my own abilities. The portion that I have managed to unearth, personally feel, is very precious as well. I share it with practitioners who have karmic connection. As for the parts that I truly am powerless to uncover myself, I hope our fellow practitioners can come to understand them through their own faith and wisdom. Therefore, the guidance on contemplating impermanence is indeed extremely important. During your practice and study, do not neglect prayer and making aspirations. At the same time, all of this content, every single word, should be remembered clearly and distinctly. After that, you should contemplate and meditate on it. When it comes to this meditation, as we say, do not abandon or neglect the two essential methods, analytical meditation and also resting meditation. Because, especially for many beginners at the outset, if you want to rest your mind, it's impossible. You haven't even achieved the state of analysis yet. So in every practice, start with analytical meditation first, then alternate between analysis and resting meditation. Eventually, you will naturally be able to rest your mind. No matter what kind of practice you are doing, whether it's big or small, this is exactly how you should always approach it. Mipham Rinpoche also explains this very clearly in the Beacon of Certainty. Therefore, at the very beginning, it is quite natural that some Dharma friends may quite understandably find it rather difficult to truly contemplate the profound nature of impermanence. This indicates that you have not yet reached the state of resting meditation. At this point, you need to read the texts repeatedly and contemplate their meaning over and over again. Analytical meditation is practices. On the surface, it may seem like we are analyzing or investigating, but in fact, this kind of wisdom is also considered practice. This is a way of delving deeper into its essence through analysis. So when you are practicing, you must rely on the exceptionally profound methods taught by the great masters and accomplished practitioners of the past. Next, let's discuss the topic as a whole. Now, in this context, contemplating impermanence is thoroughly and clearly explained in 7 distinct aspects. The first is to contemplate impermanence by reflecting on the external world. Formed by the collective merit of sentient beings, it is considered to be indestructible. The 4 continents, Mount Sumeru, the heavenly realms, and the Iron Ring Mountains and other external worlds, even though they may last for many eons, are still impermanent. Ultimately, they will inevitably be destroyed by 7 fires in 1 flood. This is about the blessings and common karma of all sentient beings in our Saha world. These 4 great continents are created by this shared karma. This includes Mount Sumeru, the Iron Ring Mountains, and the entire truly magnificent expanse of mountains, rivers, and the earth. All material worlds are formed by the common karma of all living beings. Physically, The collective karma of sentient beings is truly inconceivable. For example, the shared karma of beings in hell gives rise to the world of hell. Whether it's Jambudvipa in the south, Uttarakuru in the north, or in modern terms, whether it's China, the United States, or any country in the world, the collective karma and merit of the beings in each country shape the external world of that country. This also includes the fourfold assembly of disciples at the academy. Now, this Lurung Valley is a world formed by the collective karma and merit of many countless sentient beings. Altogether, it can be explained in this way. These physical worlds can, in fact, exist for several kalpas at a time. However, in the end, everything is impermanent. Nothing remains constant and unchanging. All of these are conditioned phenomena, and conditioned phenomena cannot exist forever. Ultimately, they are destroyed by 7 fires, followed by 1 flood and 1 wind. In the end, everything becomes just as it is described in the 4 Dharma-Skalan treatises. Everything becomes as empty as space, utterly devoid of anything. This is how it will be. Therefore, when we sometimes observe the external physical world, you should realize that although on the surface it appears solid and indestructible, in reality, this too is the result of our collective karma. When the time comes, all of it will be destroyed in the end. The entire macrocosmic universe in which we live, according to the views of some scientists today, including the well-established and widely discussed theories of some notable astronomers and geographers, in particular, among others, in fact, the entire Milky Way, as well as the Earth, the Moon, and the Sun. All of these are in motion. All of them are constantly, continuously changing. Moment by moment, they also acknowledge the impermanent nature of things. For example, the lifespan of the Earth has already reached over 4 billion years, and scientists estimate that the expected lifespan of the Sun is also in total about 5 billion years. After the passage of many additional years, these entities will eventually be extinguished, just as those before them were, and this cycle will continue to repeat itself over and over again in the same manner. Although many scientists have various explanations regarding this particular phenomenon, of course, these scientists, the earlier scientists, as well as the later theories that followed them, also differ quite noticeably from each other in a number of important respects. But in reality, none of them have ever acknowledged celestial bodies are solid. They can remain in perfect balance, constant and unchanging forever. There is no such claim. So ultimately, we also believe that the external world is impermanent. And in fact, it is generally acknowledged that the academic community in the outside world, by and large, also, for the most part, holds this view. Therefore, we should really think about it this way. Generally speaking, this can be considered a major viewpoint among astronomers. As for us, we are by no means professionals in this particular field, and we have never in any way formally studied it at all. If you haven't studied it, for example, you might really only care about your own house. Material world is our house. I wonder if my house will collapse, or what is really going on with my house, because our minds are very narrow. And our perspective is also limited. Just like ants and small insects, they only care about their own nests. Aside from that, the vast world outside, they really couldn't care less. They don't even know about it, nor do they bother with it. So many fellow practitioners here may have never cared about this either, including when we were in middle school. As soon as our geography class began, it was almost as if a switch flipped in our minds, and none of us would really pay attention to what the teacher. I admit this as well. Whenever geography class began, we didn't listen properly. As exams approached, sometimes we would ever so carefully and slowly cut out all the answers from the geography book, one by one, and then we carefully stuff the notes or small pieces of paper into our sleeves, making sure they are well hidden, so that we can secretly sneak a look at them during the test without being noticed by anyone. So back in those days when we were much younger, when we were just kids, everything seemed so simple and carefree. Didn't a lot of kids look for opportunities like this? You all shouldn't cheat. It's the 21st century now. Back in the days when we were in school, during our childhood and teenage years, it was the 20th century. So the entire external world is indeed impermanent. A Dharma friend told me that when he was studying the jewel treasury treatises, he looked at the tall mountain across from him and thought, because in the 6th chapter of the Jewel Treasury Treatises, it specifically discusses the destruction of the physical world. In the end, he gradually developed a strong and profound sense of impermanence deep within his heart, lingering quietly. He felt that if the entire physical world is impermanent, then this mountain in front of me, although it looks so majestic and magnificent, it too will inevitably become impermanent at a certain point in time. When I visit some tall buildings, I often think as well, on the surface, this seems very solid, supported by reinforced concrete. It looks like it could last hundreds or dozens of years without being destroyed. But ultimately, it is impermanent, and when the time comes, it too will be destroyed. So we should, in general and overall, have a clear understanding of the concept of impermanence. We need to have a very clear and definite view on this, because nowadays many people in the world lack the concept of impermanence. The reason they lack this concept is that they keep procrastinating in their Buddhist practice, in their daily lives. And in the end, they accomplish nothing. That's why among the Kadampa practitioners, their main focus and attention is on meditating on impermanence as a central practice in particular. If a practitioner cultivates a deep understanding of impermanence, then he will be diligent and never sleep in or be lazy. He absolutely won't use all sorts of meaningless worldly matters as excuses under any circumstances. I am too busy to learn now. This shows that the view of impermanence has not been cultivated well. If the contemplation of impermanence has not been cultivated well, then no matter how many empowerments he receives or what kind of pith instructions he obtains, he will just leave them in books or as hopes for the future. Other than that, he won't be able to actually practice. That's why these great masters of the past placed tremendous importance on the teachings about impermanence. Of course, in the process of practice, we need to integrate theory with our experience. Within the mind streams of every sentient being, many deeply rooted attachments exist. Some people think my body is indeed impermanent, but as for the vast world outside, it's so enormous, it's impossible for it to be destroyed all at once, right? We also acknowledge that it won't be destroyed in just a day or two. But ultimately, its very nature is not permanent. Once we understand this, we can use a comparative approach to realize that, in the end, even within our own small scope, whether it's the external world we rely on or our own body and mind, all of these will also eventually be destroyed. They are impermanent as well. In this way, we will finally come to truly see this illusion-like world for what it is. We will develop a deep sense of disenchantment. This sense of disenchantment is actually a helpful state for spiritual practice. So we truly hope, from the bottom of our hearts, that many people will indeed give rise to each of the states of mind as guided by the preliminary practices in this way over time. If these states have already indeed arisen, then your practice will indeed be complete, truly whole and fulfilled, and there will be no adverse or unfavorable conditions or obstacles encountered along the way. Everything will proceed smoothly and harmoniously. Today, while talking with a Dharma friend, I said this very thing. I spoke from the bottom of my heart. You could say these were heartfelt words. I said that sometimes I feel very fortunate because when I first arrived at Larunga, I started with the preliminary practices. It wasn't like it was with other kinds of academic studies. Although debate and study are all indeed very important. At the very beginning, I started with the Dharma of the preliminary practices and the Bodhisattva's way of life, these mind training teachings. Now, in my heart, I truly feel that in one's whole life, the preliminary practices are the most important. If you don't lay a solid foundation, it's like building a very fine, luxurious building on loose soil and then decorating the interior in all sorts of ways, making it look quite beautiful. But you never even consider what the foundation is actually like at all. For the time being, while you're working on the decorations, maybe you feel, oh, this is great. Look, whether it's the materials used or the patterns inside, everything is quite beautiful. It's just like this nowadays. There are some people who, I'm not saying any particular Lama is wrong. Every Lama has their own ways of guiding disciples and bestowing blessings from their lineage. But in any case, I must say, well, speaking honestly from my personal experience, if you haven't truly laid a solid foundation in the preliminary practices and you teach them a lot about empowerments or the states of Dzogchen or the states in Chan Buddhism, while you explain these things to them, it may seem the disciple with right karmic connection gets it. The Lama and disciple are happy. Ah, you really do understand, Rohit. You truly someone with sharp faculties. Should I give you my seal of approval and pass on all my teachings and lineage to you? Seems to have great confidence in him. And the disciple, in turn, expresses endless gratitude, thanking the Lama profusely. Thank you. I am especially deeply grateful. Because without you, Venerable Master, how could I possibly attain realization? But after some time, say 2 years later, the relationship between teacher and disciple changes as well. In the end, the beautiful edifice of realization within their minds, because it lacked a solid foundation, it gradually collapses over time. In the end, there is not even the slightest trace of realization left, not even a hint remains. This phenomenon is actually quite common. So first, to every Dharma friend, I sincerely, truly, and deeply wish and hope from the bottom of my heart for each and every single one of you, don't let the preliminary practices remain merely as empty words. Just like Patrul Rinpoche and our revered guru did. First of all, not just on the surface, but truly regard them in your heart as extremely important teachings. If you lay this foundation well, whether you study 5 treatises, exoteric or esoteric teachings, wherever you go to spread the Dharma and benefit beings, you will not easily be constrained by various external circumstances. Once you have practiced the preliminaries, everything is seen as practice. If contemplation of impermanence is established, when you go into the city and encounter all kinds of external situations, you will also be able to see their true nature. As an ordinary person, your mind may occasionally, due to habitual tendencies from past lives, give rise to afflictions when facing different circumstances, but these cannot remain for long. Because your contemplation of impermanence and your preliminary practices are strong, they will soon, just like a brave person who falls to the ground can immediately get back up. When faced with adverse conditions, he uses awareness, mindfulness. Moreover, this strength is very powerful. Nowadays, some practitioners, whenever they encounter adversity, find that the power of their own virtuous roots is very weak. Meanwhile, the influence of demonic forces and external evil is very strong. What is the reason for this? It is because the state of our minds, especially when we are engaged in practicing the foundational teachings, is actually quite fragile and delicate, in fact, easily disturbed. When this strength has not been developed, it is very difficult to resist the adversarial enemies of unfavorable conditions. The physical world, which is made up of everything we can observe, interact with, and experience in our daily lives, will in the end inevitably be destroyed, as nothing in the universe is permanent. As for the causes and conditions of its destruction, on one hand, of course, as we all know, all phenomena are by their very nature impermanent. And according to its natural law, when the causes and conditions are exhausted, it will also ultimately be destroyed. On the other hand, the negative karma that is created by sentient beings is in fact actually quite severe. Some sutras also say that in fact destruction will inevitably and certainly occur for this reason as well. Among these, the causes of destruction, such as fire disasters, are discussed here. For example, it is specifically mentioned in the ancient Buddhist scripture known as the Mahalalika Sutra, which is an important text in the Buddhist tradition, that this concept is addressed and discussed within its teachings. When the world faces destruction by fire, all people in the world, without exception, consistently and repeatedly act in an unlawful and improper manner, hold incorrect, mistaken, or misguided views and opinions, fail to truly and clearly perceive or recognize the actual truth, and repeatedly, time and again, commit the 10 evil deeds. As a result of all of these various causes and conditions that have come together over time, various disasters arise, and ultimately there are the calamities of 7 fires and 1 flood. There are such explanations as well. So no matter what, the external world of sentient beings will inevitably be completely destroyed one day. Although, when we pause to consider and reflect on the unimaginable scale and sheer vastness, we are just an extremely tiny form of life. But on this earth, after all, we are, as human beings, still members of this planet. These days, people often refer to me as one of the so-called Earth citizens, which is a term used to describe someone who identifies with the planet. Earth citizens include animals, whether they live in the vast oceans, seas, rivers, or dwell on land, in forests, grasslands, or deserts encompassing all sentient beings that inhabit our planet. They are all called Earth citizens. This world can be called the Earth family, or the global village. So we are citizens within this global village. Yaks are also citizens, so we should consider them our neighbors. All animals, without exception, are indeed also certainly among our valued members. But right now, many people do not understand this principle. Before Earth, water, fire, and wind disasters occur. I'm afraid that it is, unfortunately, humanity's own destructive behaviors and actions that may ultimately lead to our inevitable downfall. This includes, at this very moment, the ongoing and current destruction of the entire interconnected ecosystem. The killing of animals, and in addition, all kinds of heavy industrial pollution, such as environmental pollution and so on. Now, the space in which we can survive is becoming increasingly limited, you could say. So from this perspective, it truly is impermanent. It is worth noting that nowadays, in many different corners of the world, all kinds of meetings, both big and small, are currently being held at this very moment. These include discussions about the living space of all beings, as well as issues related to the protection of the environment, whether internationally or within individual countries. Many such meetings are taking place. This is also related to the view of impermanence and the evil deeds of our human beings. There is indeed certainly a connection. Therefore, each and every practitioner, while you are currently alive and surviving in this world, at this very moment, you also have a real responsibility to carefully protect your own environment and your own physical world. For example, even if you live in a small room, you should still pay close attention to the environment around you, the place where you live. You should maintain good hygiene. You should develop an awareness of environmental protection through various means. This is very important. Nowadays, some particular groups with relatively low standards, for instance, only care about themselves after eating or just about their own clothes and absolutely nothing else, really. Besides that, it is also especially beneficial for our neighbors and the environment as a whole. They absolutely never think about it or care about it at all in any way, and this is really not a good thing. Each one of us, on the one hand, as responsible members of society, we should genuinely be concerned about the environment that we are surrounded by. And at the same time, the poor animals living in that environment, if we care for these sentient beings with compassion, then in fact, the peaceful atmosphere of harmony, balance, and tranquility between humans and nature will naturally increase. If such a genuinely harmonious force arises in this context, then even celestial beings, non-human beings, and many other sentient beings will always shower us with auspicious flowers. They will often bring us long, beautiful days of peace, deep happiness, and gentle tranquility. This is how it will be, bringing a sense of calm and comfort to our lives, just as we hope and imagine. But if sentient beings harbor deep and intense malice within their hearts and act with cruelty and ruthless brutality, leading to the destruction of the entire natural environment and so on, in the process, then all kinds of consequences may arise as a result. Even before the final, inevitable great destruction, as we know it, has truly already occurred, in the future, humanity may also face all sorts of unexpected disasters, such as natural or man-made. This includes why, in recent times, earthquakes and fires frequently occur all over the world, as well as many natural man-made disasters. In fact, as we can see, this is very much closely connected to the specific actions of sentient beings. Not only does the Buddhist community, in fact, hold this view as well, you see, but nowadays in Western countries, many commentators and analysts also believe that there is a very profound mystery between humans and nature. If you want to unravel this mystery for them, at present, there is temporarily no key. Therefore, the Buddhist perspectives on life and death, impermanence and dependent origination, when used as fundamental principles for observation and inference, such as in scientific research, many principles will become much more clear and easy to understand to most people. This also helps to actively promote greater environmental awareness to you all. Because when it comes to the concept of impermanence, in essence, there's really not much more that can truly be said. After all, this is quite simply just how it is. Specifically, when this great kalpa in the cycle of time approaches and ultimately comes to its final destruction, insight has gradually disappeared completely from the bottom up over time. Eventually, below the first jhana heaven in this realm, not a single living sentient being will be left behind. Not even a single one. Truly none at all. Anyone who has studied Abhidharma Kosha should know that because when the bad calamity comes, it actually takes about 20 medium calamities to destroy it. 20 kalpas. 19 of the medium kalpas are entirely devoted to first destroying the sentient world within It starts with the hell realms becoming empty, beginning with those in hell. For example, sentient beings whose karmic forces are extremely heavy. They will, relying on their karma, be transferred to the Avicii hells of other worlds or to other hell realms. For those sentient beings whose karma is a bit lighter, then through the power of Dharmata, they generate virtuous thoughts and then gradually become hungry ghosts. And hungry ghosts slowly turn into animals, then humans. They slowly ascend in this way. Such situations occur. The Abhidharma Kosha Sastra should say this. From hell to hungry ghosts to animals all the way to the human realm, gradually the sentient beings within these realms will eventually become empty. For example, in ordinary times, if a human wants to be reborn in the heavenly realms or the dhyana heavens, one must have single-pointed concentration. But during the time of the world's destruction, there's no need for such concentration at all. It is likely that through the power of Dharmata, meditative absorption arises naturally, and one, without any delay, often takes rebirth in the heavenly realms. In fact, this kind of situation is quite common. So first, the inner world gradually becomes empty, then moving upward. Eventually, all sentient beings, each and every one, both great and small, throughout the endless cycle of existence, the container world slowly and inevitably begins to be gradually destroyed as the process of its collapse starts to unfold. After this, 7 suns appear in the sky, one after another, one following the next. 7 suns were discussed. Some sutras and treatises say that 7 actual suns will truly appear. Some scriptures say that a single sun possesses the heat of 7 suns. There are also such explanations. Different scriptures offer different accounts. But speaking Longchen Rabjam's treasury of wish-fulfilling jewels and the preliminary practices we are discussing here, as well as the account in the Chinese Durga Agama Sutra, I have carefully compared them here side by side, and after reviewing everything, I can confirm that they are exactly the same. The method of world destruction described here is different from what is explained in the Abhidharma Kosha. Of course, as you may already know, many people have already studied the Abhidharma Kosha. This is mind training. But if you want to analyze the Abhidharma Kosha in detail, then I don't need to go into that reasoning here at this point. However, in the past, the explanations given were already quite detailed. If many people are interested, it should be the explanatory notes on the Abhidharma Kosha or the various detailed commentaries on it, as we have mentioned before in this context. As all of this has already been discussed in detail, indeed, in the 3rd chapter of the Abhidharma Kosha, I won't elaborate. In short, when you have time, you can read the Digha Agama Sutra if you wish. The Digha Agama Sutra specifically discusses impermanence, especially the particular and highly detailed method of describing the entire process of destruction caused by the 7 suns is thoroughly and carefully explained in great detail. When the first brilliant sun appears, it burns up all the trees and groves. With the first sun, all the majestic forests, grass, and flowers in the entire world, stretching far and wide, will all be completely burned up. When the second sun appears, all streams and ponds will dry up without exception. All the streams in the world, including the small, clear, gentle, serene, and peaceful, ever-flowing rivers in the picturesque and tranquil region of Larong Valley, the water that so many nuns rely on every day for washing their clothes, for keeping their garments clean and maintaining their daily routines, will soon be gone. This essential water, which has supported their way of life for generations, will vanish completely, leaving no trace behind and erasing a vital part of their daily existence. When the 3rd sun finally appears, at last, all the great rivers will eventually dry up entirely and completely. Like the great rivers of the world, like the Ganges in India and the Nairanjana River. In the future, the Yangtze River, the Jinsha River, the Yellow River, and so on, all of which are among the most significant rivers in China, will ultimately dry up completely. Then, the 4th sun will cause even the great ocean of no heat to be left without a single drop of water. The ocean of no heat is a very large sea in India, and even it will, in time, eventually dry up completely. When the 5th sun appears, the outer ocean, which is 100 yojanas deep, will soon be completely and utterly gone. Then it will dry up to depths of 200 yojanas, then 700 yojanas, 1,000 yojanas, 10,000 yojanas, until even the depth of 80,000 yojanas will be completely dried up. The remaining water will shrink from a yojana to the distance of a shout. In the end, even the precious water that could fill a single hoofprint will eventually be gone, disappearing completely without a trace. Finally, even the small amount of water that gradually accumulates and gathers in a cow's shallow hoofprint in the soft, muddy ground, not even the tiniest bit of water will remain all the oceans in the world, as well as the smaller streams, will all be completely dried up eventually by the heat of several suns. It's absolutely, genuinely terrifying, and this could indeed happen. Now, when scientists talk about Earth's ultimate destruction, they say the sun's light will gradually increase plants on Earth. After another billion years, will all wither and dry up and so on. It's just a different way of explaining it. In reality, in the end, the entire world will become like this. When the sixth sun appears, it will burn the entire Earth and snowy mountains. And when the seventh sun appears, Mount Sumeru, the 4 great continents, 8 small continents, 7 golden mountains, and the iron encircling mountains will all be consumed in a raging sea of flames. All the mountains, rivers, and lands will be reduced to nothing, not even a single speck of dust remaining. The Devaputra Samkodiya Sutra also says, when a kalpa is complete, this world will inevitably be destroyed. All the towering mountains will be burned by fire, and not even a speck of dust will remain. This means that when a great kalpa is fulfilled, all the mountains and the external world will be completely burned away by fire, ultimately leaving nothing behind at all. In the end, not even the tiniest speck of dust can be found in this world. The entire material world will be completely consumed by flames. There is absolutely nothing left at all, not even the slightest trace or remnant remains. The blazing flames spiral downward, reaching an extreme intensity, burning away everything in the hell realms. Eventually, the flames of the desire realm slowly spiral down to engulf the entire hell, because all sentient beings in hell are already gone. The entire hell and the external material world are completely incinerated. The brilliant tongues of fire then suddenly shoot straight upward. They burn the Brahma heavens, all the countless empty palaces. As the flames rise upward, because at that time the beings of the Brahma heavens have also, due to karmic force and different inherent qualities, many of them have already been reborn elsewhere, in different places. All their palaces are completely empty. These vast empty halls are all completely destroyed by the fire. At this point, the external material world has been consumed by impermanence. You could say this. At this moment, the young deities of the Abhasvara heaven are panicking and crying out in alarm. Such a great fire has broken out. Many of the young deities are extremely frightened because from the second jhana heaven they can look downward. The blazing flames from the entire hell suddenly rushed up, and it was truly deeply terrifying to witness. At that time, some of the elder deities tried to gently comfort them, saying, in the past, this fire would always disappear without a trace once it reached Brahma heaven. There's no need to panic or be afraid. They comforted them in this way. The Abhidharmakosha contains a more detailed explanation about this. In the past, on many occasions, the desire realm, as well as everything that existed below the first dhyana, had already been completely burned. So some of the more experienced elder deities felt that for the time being, at this particular moment, this fire posed absolutely no threat whatsoever at all to their magnificent heavenly palaces, not in the slightest. In this way, after 7 cycles of great fires, the second dhyana heaven remains. Through the transformative power of fire, everything that lies below the first dhyana is thoroughly and utterly burned away. Then, specifically in the second dhyana heaven, layers of softly swirling water clouds begin to form. To destroy the second dhyana heaven, it is destroyed by water. At that time, dark, ominous clouds gather. Then, relentless, torrential rain pours down from the sky, like yokes of wood or volleys of arrows. Everything below the heaven of radiant light is completely destroyed and disappears, just like salt dissolving in water. The second jhana heaven in Buddhist cosmology is ultimately destroyed by water, celestial beings of second dhyana heaven. When destruction is imminent, all sentient beings within that world migrate to other worlds. or move up to the level of the third dhyana heaven. At that time, only the material world is destroyed by water. This is indeed the second jhana heaven after the cycle of 7 fires and 1 flood ends. The Vajra wind at the base of the crust Vajra begins to surge upward. Below is the third dhyana heaven, and it is from the Vajra cross scepter that the wind wheel, as described in the scriptures, comes forth. Actually, at that time, there is no earth, there is only the wind wheel. We know that when the earth formed, it first took shape on the wind wheel. Then this wind starts to roll upward continuously. Below the third heaven, everything is utterly and completely obliterated, just like dust in the wind. Everything below third dhyana heaven is gone. So in this way, fire, water, and wine, these 3 elements, everything below first dhyana heaven destroyed. Why? Because according to the well-known Abhidharma Kosha and some other sutras and treatises, beings below the second dhyana heaven all possess discursive thought, a kind of discursive thought that is like fire. Therefore, they are completely destroyed by fire. As for the second dhyana heaven, its beings experience joy and bliss, a bliss that is like water. In third dhyana heaven, there is a breath like the wind. When it comes to the fourth dhyana heaven, it is free from 8 kinds of faults. Overall, elements like water, fire, and wind, no matter how powerful, cannot ever destroy it. The fourth dhyana stays intact, a great kalpa, but does that mean it becomes eternal? Not at all. Longchen Rabjem also states in the Treasury of Wish-Fulfilling Jewels, the beings in the fourth dhyana heaven transferred to other worlds by Dhammata, the nature of reality, or have already died, unfortunately. Therefore, everything below the fourth dhyana, whether it is the earth or the world itself, in the end, none of them, in reality, truly exist. Not at all. Within the 3,000 great thousand world system, there exist 100 koti of 4 great continents, Mount Sumeru, and heavenly realms. All of these external worlds, each existing independently, are ultimately destroyed at the exact same time simultaneously. In the end, everything can be said, the entire external container world and all phenomena within it, all turn into emptiness in the end. Buddha said in the Sutra of Impermanences, the earth, the sun, and the moon all will eventually come to an end. There has never been a single thing that is not swallowed by impermanence. This means whether the earth, the sun, or the moon, in the end, all will vanish into nothingness, become like empty space. There is not a single phenomenon in the entire world that is not devoured by the net of impermanence. Indeed, such a thing cannot be found in this world. So perhaps we ourselves should take a moment to truly reflect on this. The impermanence of all phenomena, as we observe in our experience, is a deeply profound and significant truth. Previously, Janangpa Taranatha, in his influential scholarly work titled A History of Indian Buddhism, he thoughtfully recounted a fascinating story. Back then, King Ashoka first committed negative actions. Later, in order to truly and sincerely repent, he built 84 zero pagodas. After all 84,000 stupas were completed, to celebrate and dedicate the merit, he held a 3-month-long offering and Dharma assembly for the Sangha. At that time, he invited a group of respected Buddhist monks. Among them was an elder, a wise and seasoned practitioner, in whom he had great faith. In his heart, he was also preparing to make a grand offering to this senior monk. He wanted to make a truly great and generous offering to him, and also to thoughtfully provide nourishing food for the others. When it was finally time to make the important offering, because that great elder, although he had been ordained as a monk for a full 60 years, and had always consistently upheld and maintained the precepts very purely and with great care and dedication, but he appeared to be quite dull. He couldn't even explain the meaning of a single verse. After they had just finished the meal and eaten very well, some of the monks went to the elder and said, "Why did King Ashoka treat you so well with the offering? He'll definitely ask you to give a Dharma talk after the meal." At that moment, he became anxious and thought to himself, today is ruined. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have eaten at all. But I have already finished what I was supposed to eat. It's impossible to throw it up. So today is really ruined. I've been a monk so long, if I can't give a teaching, how embarrassing is that? While he was suffering, struggling, and feeling sad, there was a tree spirit in that grove who knew what the old monk was thinking. He thought that if he really couldn't give a teaching, then after King Ashoka has made such a great offering, in the end, might he actually develop wrong views and ultimately lose his faith. Then he manifested a magical form and appeared before the monk, saying, "If in a moment King Ashoka offers you the highest offering, and then asks you to give a teaching, even if you can't say anything else, no matter what happens, you absolutely must say this. All the earth, with its vast lands and majestic mountains, no matter how strong or enduring they may seem, will ultimately fade away and come to nothing. In the same way, your royal throne is impermanent. Reflect on this. You just need to say this one sentence, and that will be enough." The old monk was indeed very pleased, and after a while, King Ashoka also made many excellent, beautiful, and high-quality robes for this old practitioner, such as those crafted with great care and respect, unlike those given to other monks. Even now in Tibet, there is a custom of making special offerings to senior practitioners. For example, today, if 20 monks are reciting scriptures together, there is always, without exception, a designated senior seat. If everyone else gets 20 yuan, the senior monk gets 40 yuan. This tradition is in Tibet, and it was the same in India. So they made generous offerings to that old practitioner. In the end, King Ashoka respectfully asked him to give his profound and insightful teachings to everyone present. As for the practitioner, he didn't know anything else, and he admitted he was dull. But as for what the tree spirit just said, he said, whether it's the earth or the mountains, in the end, all of these will ultimately become nothing. King, your throne is also impermanent. You should really think about this. As a result, in King Ashoka's mind, because he was someone with good roots, he kept quietly and thoughtfully contemplating its deeper meaning, pausing now and then. He himself felt that he had truly gained a great deal from it. Through this, he attained some realization. Then the tree spirit also told the old practitioner, "You too are enjoying the offerings from devotees every day. You should also reflect deeply on this and take your time to consider all aspects carefully." The old bhikshu examined himself and realized that this was indeed true. After that, he sought out another acharya again. And after receiving teachings in his presence, he attained fruition of arhatship in 3 months. This is recorded in the history of Indian Buddhism. So the Dharma of impermanence is truly profound. That's why when some Dharma friends go out and some big bosses make large offerings to you and ask you to teach the Dharma, if you don't understand Dharma teachings, you can just say, as a leader, your position might be a bit unstable. You should really think about it very carefully. This itself is a great teaching. If he has faith, he will definitely benefit from it. So here it is also stated, since even the entire great Trichiliocosm has moments when it becomes completely empty, then what lasting stability can our human bodies, as fleeting as autumn flies, possibly have? This is the final teaching Patrul Rinpoche gives us. The external great trichiliocosm, be it Mount Meru or the 4 continents, in the end, all of it will vanish and turn into emptiness. In this way, our bodies right now are indeed, quite simply, no different from autumn flies. Like bubbles in water, there is nothing reliable about them. They are bound to be impermanent. Therefore, we must cultivate a deep sense of impermanence and awareness within ourselves This is mentioned in the praise of the Buddha's deeds, a respected Buddhist scripture that honors and describes the virtuous actions. The fires of the Kalpa melt Mount Meru, meaning that at the end of the Kalpa, the fires will melt Mount Meru, and in time, every last drop of water from all the world's oceans will gradually evaporate and vanish, leaving behind empty, barren ocean basins where water once existed. So how much more so our bodies, which are just like bubbles in water, yet we cling to the delusion, hoping for them to last forever, to remain permanent. This is indeed laughable. There are also scriptural proofs for this, so we should reflect on it. Even the great mountains outside will eventually be destroyed. The vast oceans will be destroyed and the entire world will come to an end. We should not be overly attached. Nowadays, people misunderstand impermanence. They believe houses exist, the body exists, that cars exist and everything exists. Due to this belief in true existence, they become attached to them. In the end, this makes it impossible for their spiritual practice to succeed. If we contemplate impermanence, then the arising and destruction of external things like houses will not cause you much attachment. Therefore, about these principles, we must contemplate them seriously and practice them sincerely. I clearly remember there is a verse from the Han region, diligently strive, making every possible effort, as if you were saving your own head from a raging fire. Remember impermanence and be careful not to be negligent. We should contemplate in this way. We must be diligent right now. This diligence should not be postponed, thinking tomorrow, next year, or later that won't do. It's like when a beautiful woman's long hair suddenly catches on fire, she would put it out as quickly as possible. In the same way, we should act with the greatest speed, contemplating impermanence, remembering impermanence, and practicing. We must never spend our days in negligence. If you live negligently, it is truly a waste of this rare human life. It's hard to say when we might leave this world. In practicing virtuous deeds, whenever you think of it, do it immediately, don't delay any longer. If you keep putting it off, you may never get another chance. Delay wrongdoing. If someone says, should we do something bad? Let's talk about it tomorrow. But if someone says, should we practice virtue? Start now, don't delay, start. I'm going to become a monastic now. I'm going to practice virtue right now. Let's stop.
Bandara Padma Sada Bandara Padma Sada